Hello, my name is Amy Walker. I am originally from Stockton, California. I lived there my whole life until graduating high school in 2009. I received my undergraduate degree in nutrition with an option in dietetics from Oregon State University. After graduating from Oregon State, I moved to Portland, Oregon, where I have lived since. A few things that I enjoy doing are gardening, swimming, yoga, cooking, reading, and throwing pottery. Growing up in Stockton, I come from an extremely diverse environment. It varies in economic class as well as racial background. I believe that this has made me a more successful student, employee, friend, and individual. Stockton has equipped me with skills that cannot be taught in a classroom. It has taught me to be resourceful, accepting, and tolerant. I think that the Tulane Dietetic Internship would be an excellent fit for me based on the emphasis of the program and what I hope to do with my personal nutrition education. I have a particular interest in community nutrition as well as nutrition education, and I intend to focus my career in that area of the field. I have some specific ideas as to how I want to be involved in community nutrition that I will expand on a little bit later. While being a dietetic intern at Tulane, I have a variety of expectations. I expect and hope to complete the internship a more knowledgeable, confident educator and individual. I hope to be able to expand on the knowledge I currently possess with regard to community nutrition, education, as well as outreach. I would like to make some connections and relationships with people who share the same passions that I do on this topic. I am looking to learn from my peers, my professors, dietitians, and healthcare workers. Overall, I hope to complete the program a well-educated, inspired individual that is ready to pursue a career as a dietitian. Aside from gaining knowledge, I hope to determine a more specific career path. As of now, my interests in community nutrition are broad and flexible. I hope to find something more specialized that I can focus my energy and future career on. After graduating high school, I decided to attend Oregon State University. I made this decision knowing that I would be going to school among complete strangers. There was not a single person that I knew going to the same university. This was one of the best decisions I have ever made, and I am excited to take the leap again. I am anxious to be in a new place with all new faces, events, and cultures. I hope to gain experience as a student, a teacher, and as a newcomer to New Orleans and all that it has to offer. I want to be a dietitian to help educate those without the necessary nutrition knowledge who need it most. I believe that nutrition is extremely important, and having the license of a dietitian gives you a credible platform to share that knowledge. After completing the dietetic internship, I hope to find a career that aligns with my nutrition-related interests. Ideally, I would like to work in a community nutrition or nutrition education setting. Completing my internship will help me to determine what age group, location, or specific setting I hope to work in. I would like to work hands-on with people in my community, teaching them the ins and outs of nutrition, specifically how to grow their own food, where to buy their food, how to cook it, and how to eat it. In 5 years' time, I would love to create a community garden program in various neighborhoods wherever I may end up, specifically but not limited to low-income neighborhoods and schools. The community gardens would work in combination with classes, teaching how to plant, cultivate, and harvest food. In continuation, I would love to have a program that teaches how to prepare food and eat the foods that they do grow in their own gardens. There have been many occasions when I have felt uncomfortable in a work situation. At my current job, I work as a scheduler for a large physician-owned specialist clinic. I spend a lot of time on the phone and some time dealing with patients face-to-face. Like any job that deals with people, we come across unhappy patients on a somewhat regular basis. On one occasion, a patient was let into the clinic to see another doctor who I do not work with personally. While walking through the clinic, the patient called my direct phone number and began raising her voice and being very accusatory. As the conversation continued, I realized the patient had made their way to my desk and was standing directly behind me. This was a very uncomfortable position to be in because normally I have an option to transfer them to a supervisor or simply tell them I don't feel comfortable and ask them to call back at a later time. In this instance, however, I surprised myself with how well I handled the situation and the patient. I calmly told them I was very sorry that they were unhappy and that I would speak with their doctor and have them call the patient as soon as possible. Before the patient was able to respond, I quickly changed the subject and asked them about the appointment they were currently there for, and the dialogue changed. I find myself in many situations where patients are not happy with me, and more times than not, it is for a reason that is completely out of my control. I think that the best way to handle situations like this is by treating the patient with respect and compassion and letting them know that you truly care, because usually that is all that they are looking for. The way that I would respond when feeling uncomfortable during an internship rotation would vary greatly on the situation itself. I think that it is always best to stay calm and respond in a friendly and appropriate manner, but it's also important to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. I think that if the situation took place between a patient versus a superior, my reaction would vary appropriately. There is always the option of making a teacher, a supervisor, or someone that is higher up aware of the situation if it's something that I don't feel that I can handle on my own. When preparing for a major exam, I do a variety of things. Aside from attending lecture or lab and doing assigned readings, I like to review any notes taken in class, slides from lectures, or any additional reading information when it's provided. When it comes to crunch time, I like to spend more time reviewing concepts that I am less familiar with. I typically allow enough time to go over everything once briefly before I take the exam. I feel that this refreshes my memory and forces me to accept those few things that I just cannot remember. During my senior year of college, I was taking a 4-credit health class for elective credits. It was a very easy class and meant to be taken with the intent of getting an easy A. We were about 7 out of 12 weeks into the term, and it was time for our second midterm. At the time, my sister was living on the East Coast, which was when Hurricane Sandy was causing extreme storms and flooding. This gave me some serious anxiety and stressed me out a little bit more than I was aware of. I would consider myself an early morning person, particularly on the days that I have a midterm. For whatever reason, and I'll blame my sister, I slept through several alarms the day of my health midterm. I didn't sleep through them a little bit. I slept through them enough to miss 3 hours of work and to arrive to class about 30 minutes into a 90-minute exam. The teacher refused to allow me to take the test, make up the test, or do any work in place of the points I would be missing. Without the midterm, there was no way I could pass the class. I offered to show her my study guide, do any variation of the test, or any makeup assignments. She rejected all of these ideas. I understood her reasoning for wanting to stick to her rules and the syllabus, but it is extremely, extremely frustrating. In the end, I tried everything I could to pass the class, but there was no convincing her. I ended up taking what I thought would be a pretty simple chemistry class over the summer to make up for the credits. Turned out it was a little more challenging than I expected, but I definitely learned something new. I also learned never to rely on an alarm clock. When asked if I am better at working on many things or one thing at a time, I would answer that question differently now than when I was still in school. In college, you were juggling many classes, homework, studying, work, a social life, and much more. I think it would have been impossible for me to allow myself to focus on one thing at a time until it was completed. I would have felt as though I were neglecting so much. After working a full-time job for the past couple years, I can say with 100% confidence that my productivity is much greater when I focus all of my attention on a task until it is completed, or at least devote myself to a couple projects instead of spreading myself thinly over dozens. In my current job, I have a running to-do list that is added to daily or throughout the day. My to-dos are all attached to different patients. I've found that if I focus on one patient at a time when possible, I tend to do a better job, and I do that job more effectively, and the chance for error is much lower. I think this lesson has been extremely valuable to me because I have always seen multitasking as a strength. I think this knowledge will make me a better student and a more effective test taker. I think that it is very common to be forced to work with someone who does not share the same ideas that you do. In one class that I took during college, we spent an entire term prepping to take over a cafe on campus for a day. Our class was split into two groups and made to be competitors. We were responsible for every factor involved, including the theme, the menu, making the food, decorating the space, and so on. We were split into groups of about 12 people per team. The first big decision was deciding our theme and the type of food that we would put on the menu. Myself and a few others in our group were very set on the idea of an Oregon bounty menu. This menu was meant to utilize all of the amazing produce we have in Oregon, trying to make options for the menu that were fresh, healthy, and delicious. A majority of our group, however, wanted to do a family-style Italian theme with all the classic Italian dishes. In the end, our competing team went with the Oregon Bounty menu, and my group chose Italian. I was hesitant and a little bit jealous when these were the results initially. In the end, however, the theme my team chose was a much better decision. The ingredients were cheaper, the menu was more easily conveyed to the customers, the food was easier to prep and prepare, not to mention our menu options were endless. In the end, my team won, and if it would have been up to me, chances are we would have lost. I like to think of these types of challenges as the most rewarding. Although they can be the most difficult at times, I find that I learn the most when I am forced to work outside of my comfort zone with someone whose ideas and opinions are different than my own. I hope that you enjoyed getting to know me. I hope to hear from you soon. Bye!